No, never gonna sing it.
We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. And give thanks that our unity has been made more restored. And we know we're one family by our love, by our love. Yes, we know we're one family by our love. We will work with each other, we will work side by side. We will work with each other, we will work side by side. We discover our dignity by knowing God inside. And we know we're one family by our love, by our love. Yes, we know we're one family by our love.
As an affirmation for peace in the Middle East and in solidarity with our Muslim and Jewish brothers and sisters, all of us, people of the book, we greet one another. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Peace be upon you.
And upon you peace.
Shalom.
Alaikum shalom.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
As most of you know, I'm Reverend Vicky Elder, and it is my joy and honor to welcome you to Unity of Monterey Bay, a beloved community co-created with love and intention that welcomes all people, all races, ages, cultures, ethnic backgrounds, economic circumstances, nationalities, and religions. Whatever your immigration status, sexual orientation, gender identity, family configuration, and/or abilities. Whether you're here with us in person or joining us virtually, we know that love knows no boundaries. We are one in spirit, as we've just affirmed. As a purpose-driven church, Unity of Monterey Bay is an inclusive spiritual community committed to co-creating an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just, and compassionate human presence on this planet. We celebrate our oneness and honor the God of each of our understanding, affirming the innate good and divine essence within each and every individual. Will you please join me in our statement of faith? There is only one presence and one power in the universe, God the good, expressing as infinite God beyond us, intimate God beside us, inner God being us, divine love in action. And as we allow knowing to deepen within our souls and serve to awaken us into enlightenment for the benefit of all living beings, we join in holding a high watch for our nation through this election season and for the world with this prayer for peace. And again, I'll say the statements and you can repeat after me. I offer you peace.
I offer you peace.
I offer you love.
I offer you love.
I offer you friendship.
I offer you friendship.
I see your beauty.
I see your beauty.
I hear your need.
I hear your needs.
I feel your feelings.
I feel your feelings.
My wisdom flows from a higher source.
My wisdom flows from a higher source.
And I bow to that source in you.
And I bow to that source in you.
Let us work together in unity and love.
Let us work together in unity and love.
And now please join me in affirming, thank you, God, for this most amazing day. Miracle follows miracle, and wonders never cease. Yes, and so it is. This is literally the first day of September and the first Sunday of September, so we're going to be celebrating September birthdays. So Anyone with a September birthday? Come on
Anyone else that hasn't gone up?
up.
Today is Joyce's birthday, but she's not. She's with family, so today is her
Ah,
birthday.
hey, John.
Happy birthday
To us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday, dear.
wonderful.
Happy birthday to us. God is blessing us now. God is blessing us now. God is blessing us. We're wonderful. God is blessing us now. Woo. You too. And so now we celebrate our children, those in our spiritual community, those in our families, those in our larger community, all the children of the world. We hold them in our hearts and we see them protected and resilient, creative and evolving, joyous and loved as we join in our heartfelt blessing. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you just the way you are.
This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So let's all take a deep breath in now and let it out with an audible sigh. As we center ourselves to embrace this blissful inner connection with Spirit, and we invite the chime to call us into the sacred space within. We ring the chime 4 times to call in the 4 directions and to remind us of our interconnection with all of creation and with the sacred circle of life. As we feel it resonate through our very beings, we follow its call into this now present moment within. Focusing on our breath, with each inhale we open our hearts and minds. We envision our breath reaching every cell of our being. And with each exhale, we see all barriers and obstacles dissolving into the divine flow. And again, as we inhale, we expand the spaciousness within us. We move beyond the limitations and boundaries of our bodies. And as we exhale, we ground ourselves deep within Mother Earth and into our oneness with the universe. Finally, we breathe our awareness into the highest expression of love, light, joy, and peace we can imagine, as we experience a transforming wave of gratitude. And with a fullness of heart, we say yes to it all, embracing, claiming, and knowing the divine Christ Spirit expressing in, through, and as us. And with a final exhale, we say thank you, God. So now, fully centered and transformed by the power of Spirit, we enter into our lesson and meditation time with today's daily word.
We read from the August 22nd Daily Word, shared with permission of Unity, publisher of Daily Word, that can also be found at dailyword.com. And the word is discovery. I invite you to allow my words to be your words. Spiritual living and learning keep me on a journey of discovery. Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore was a lifelong learner, eager to discover more and more about spiritual matters throughout his many decades of life. He repeatedly said, "I reserve the right to change my mind," because he understood the nature of discovery, and even his own understanding was fluid and subject to change. As a spiritual seeker, I, too, reserve the right to change my mind, to have my understanding challenged, and to keep questioning what I may be tempted to accept blindly. This is not an act of spiritual rebellion. Indeed, it is an act of supreme faith. Through my desire to discover, I am declaring there is more to understand, new ways to grow, and ever greater opportunities to live a spiritual life. And from the scriptures, great are the works of the Lord, studied by all who delight in them. Psalm chapter 111, verse 2.
I am here for the greater good of all, greater good of all, greater good of all. I am here for the greater good of all, greater good of all. You are here for the greater good of all, greater good of all, greater good of all. You are here for the greater good of all, greater good of all. We are here for the greater good of all, greater good of all, greater good of all. We are here for the greater good of all, greater good of all.
In witness to the wisdom of the many paths to the sacred, we read from 3 sacred traditions on this morning's topic, authentic transformation. From Buddhism, for things to reveal themselves to us, we need to be ready to abandon our views about them. When we are mindful, deeply in touch with the present moment, our understanding of what is going on deepens, and we begin to be filled with acceptance, joy, peace, and love. From Judaism, now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you." And from Christianity, and all of us, with unveiled faces, seeing the glory of the Lord as though reflected in a mirror, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another. For this comes from the Lord, the Spirit. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18.
Open to all that I am, open to all I am not, open to seeking the truth I need
One of the most meaningful perspectives of unity teachings for me was, as revealed in the Daily Word today, is also revealed in a statement by Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore that appears in the front of many Unity classics. I first discovered it in the Unity book, Keep a True Lent, where it states, Unity is a link in the great educational movement inaugurated by Jesus Christ. Our objective is to discern the truth in Christianity and prove it. The truth that we teach is not new, neither do we claim special revelations or discovery of new religious principles. Our purpose is to help and teach humankind to use and prove the eternal truth taught by the Master. So in this statement, Fillmore is distinguishing unity as an educational movement, and that really aligned with where I was when I was first seeking spirituality and still today. An educational movement that involves engagement in an ongoing, ever-evolving, developing process wherein questions are encouraged. In contrast to what we think of as a religion or a denomination that often involves the acceptance of a fixed set of doctrines and or dogma. Accordingly, the official name became Unity School of Christianity, and it was the Fillmore's idea that they weren't a church, but that people went to their own churches and would come to Unity to learn, to be able to go deeper in their understanding of their spiritual walk. Of course, history tells us that soon people wanted their own Unity church, and so that happened. But even as Unity began ordaining ministers and establishing churches, the focus remains on teaching versus preaching, which is why what I'm doing right now we call a Sunday lesson, not a sermon, because it's an invitation to explore. It's not a exhortation about what you're supposed to be believing or doing in your lives. And finally, as Fillmore proclaimed, and as it was said in the Daily Word, we reserve the right to change our minds. In essence, we continue to evolve in our knowledge and understanding of the truth, and we expect that we will change over the years as we grow. Further clarity around Fillmore's understanding of spiritual education can be discerned with his definition of spiritual growth as the increase of God in humanity. That's what's listed in his metaphysical dictionary, The Revealing Word, which to me clearly implies that spiritual education is about spiritual transformation. The statement goes on to proclaim Unity's objective to discerning the truth of Christianity and proving it, meaning to be able to demonstrate that it works in our lives, which is where we got the name Practical Christianity. It isn't something to read and hold in our minds or even in our hearts, but that we actually live these principles in our daily living, which is then why the purpose is to help and teach humankind to use and prove the eternal truth taught by the Master. So Unity really attracted me because it wasn't about me accepting some belief about Jesus having died for my sins or being a savior or any of the other proclamations that are made in the Bible. Rather, it was an invitation for me to do what Jesus asked us to do and follow him, which means to follow him in our spiritual learning and journey. So I've integrated all of this to mean for us as a Unity ministry that we are committed to co-creating a space where all are invited, encouraged, and supported in growing spiritually and ultimately being spiritually transformed, changed at depth, such that we increasingly recognize and align with our true spiritual nature. In essence, we experience God increasing within us for our own highest good and also for the benefit of all human beings, or all living beings, not just human, all human and living beings. And we say that because it illustrates our oneness. It gets so easy to follow a spiritual path just for ourselves, just so we find peace of mind or we experience more prosperity. But the reality is when we're really engaged in spirituality and oneness, what we know is everything that we gain, the whole gains. And it's not spiritual if it isn't something that's benefiting more than us, that it's not benefiting all of creation. We confirm this commitment every week in our statement of faith and opening prayers, as well as in our Sunday offering, where we affirm Unity of Monterey Bay is the collective consciousness and commitment of all of us who give of our time, treasure, and talent in order to sustain this spiritual community that is dedicated to transforming lives. That's our key purpose for being here, to transform lives, to make, as the Buddha says, and the Dalai Lama says, to help us find more joy. And that doesn't mean the happiness or the temporary things of getting material things, but to get our lives grounded in this place of peace and joy and love. So given this foundation in both ever-evolving and practical, in other words, demonstrable spiritual teachings that seek spiritual transformation, it shouldn't be surprising that I found the July 7th through 13th Center for Action and Reflection topic, Authentic Transformation, intriguing and worth further exploration, which is what we're going to be doing this week and next week. Rohr initiates the discussion of spiritual transformation with an entry on evolving faithfully, where he offers an understanding, which we share in Unity, that continual growth and evolution are inherent in all of creation. And to God saying, God keeps creating things from the inside out so that they are forever yearning, developing, growing, and changing for the good. This is the fire God has cast upon the earth, the generative force implanted in all living things, which grow both from within, because they are programmed for it, and from without, by taking in sun and food and water. He adds, there is not a single discipline studied today that does not recognize change, development, growth, and some kind of evolving phenomenon, be it psychology, cultural anthropology, history, physical sciences, philosophy, social studies, art, drama, music. All of it is always open to further understanding, deeper understanding, sometimes with a complete paradigm shift, recognizing that what we thought before was true, we now realize isn't. So it means we need to stay open, and as the songs say, not be too attached to what we already know, or I guess it was a scripture that said that. We have to not be so attached to what we know if we want to be able to grow. When we can hold an image of God as the ever-expanding, ever-unfolding, upward progressive movement of life, and accept what has already been revealed with clarity, that life and knowledge is always building on themselves, are cumulative, and are always moving outward toward ever greater connection and discovery, then we can ground our faith in transformative and evolutionary thinking, which not only allows but invites our spiritual understanding to continue to evolve. In a subsequent entry, Rohr dives deeper into the idea of transformation as the fruit of an authentic spiritual path, describing how for much of his life he's been trying to facilitate transformation, be it called conversion, change of consciousness, or a change of mind. He explains that the transformed mind lets us see how we process reality by allowing us to step back from our own personal processor so we can be more honest about what is really happening. Now, we've talked about this a lot in terms of mindfulness and how when our minds are awakened, we have the ability to observe our thinking and witness the thought processes we're engaged in, which then allows us to pause, discern, and choose our response, rather than just being on this automatic treadmill. For example, when we're being mindful, we can recognize an initial fear response, and rather than automatically reacting, we have the ability to review our thoughts and to choose our response, to perhaps recognize the fear as false evidence appearing real, rather than, as they used to say, F everything and run. So those are two different ways of looking at fear. False evidence appearing real that we can re-examine and make a new choice, or we can just react to our flight process and take off. Expanding further on the nature of transformation, Rohr distinguishes authentic transformation as a change that's grounded in God or spiritual or sacred experience, which forever alters not only our perception of life, but how we respond in our daily living. It is this experiential spiritual grounding that allows us to at once know God and at the same time allow our spiritual understanding to continue to change and evolve. My first spiritual awakening, as I've shared often before, was, for lack of a better words, because there are no words, an experience of infinite, unconditional, and expansive love. It is an experience that has never left me and that continues to transform me at depth, changing the trajectory of my life from that day forward, ultimately, some 20 years later, calling me to ministry. I resonate with the idea that spiritual awakening is what happens at the beginning of the spiritual journey, and transformation is what continually happens if we stay on the path and we stay open and continue to explore and discover. Admittedly, in that process, there's going to be leaps, and then there's going to be pauses, and sometimes even lengthy feeling like we're stuck, but the journey is always there, moving within us if we focus on it and pay attention. I've never lost the power and connection of that initial awakening experience. However, my understanding of it, as well as of truth and scriptures and spiritual practice, continue to evolve even to this day, with some events like finding unity and a whole heart-mind structure to put my beliefs into and push against and question and challenge that have been truly transformative. As Rohr explains, transformation isn't merely a change of morals, group affiliation, or belief system, although it might lead to any of those, but a change at the very heart of the way we receive and pass on each moment. Do we use the moment to strengthen our ego position, or do we use the moment to enter into a much broader seeing and connecting? As Rohr suggests, authentic God experiences always lead towards service, towards the depths, towards the margins, towards people suffering or considered outsiders. Our motivation foundationally changes from security, status, and control to generosity, humility, and cooperation. Finally, drawing on the work of American philosopher and mystic Ken Wilber, Father Rohr describes 3 stages of transformation: growing up, waking up, and cleaning up. Growing up in this model refers to the process of physical, psychological, and emotional maturing that persons commonly undergo, both personally and culturally. We all grow up, even as we usually do it inside a defined bubble. The social structures that surround us, however, for example, our families, our education, our religion, cultural and social norms, relationships, and social networks largely determine, or at least strongly influence, how much we actually mature emotionally and spiritually during this process of growing up. As Rohr says, any full growing up has to be a growing outward and not just upward. For example, we can become physically strong or materially successful even as we remain emotionally or spiritually stunted, wounded, and dysfunctional. Waking up, also referred to as awakening, enlightenment, or unitive consciousness, involves any spiritual experience which overcomes our experience of the self as separate from being in general. Let's say that again. We wake up when the experience overcomes this normal sort of ego-based sense of the self being separate from being. Rohr suggests this should be the goal of all spiritual work, including defining the Christian meaning of salvation. Again, what's key here for me is the word overcomes, which implies not a single aha moment that sometimes we get if we're out and seeing all the stars, we're away from all the lights, and we just experience the sense that we're part of something much larger than ourselves, but then we go back to our regular living, right? We go back inside and life goes on. Rather, transformation is about an experience that deeply redefines our relationship with life in ways we cannot retreat from, and actually that invite us to grow and go deeper. In other words, as noted before, authentic transformation often begins with a single aha moment, but essentially involves an ongoing desire for and process of consciously evolving within a context of practices and disciplines, including spiritual study, reflection, mindfulness, prayer, meditation, community, etc. Sadly, Rohr notes, organized Western religion has largely described waking up in terms of growing up, and an adherence to a particular and largely culturally defined morality in somewhat of a transactional be good and go to heaven arrangement. And because of the Western bias against inner experience versus focusing on outer behavior, it can seem presumptuous to actually believe or believe possible the conclusions of every significant mystic that have called us to follow them. Be it Jesus' words, I and the Father are one, or Augustine's words, God is closer to me than I am to myself, or Catherine of Genoa's words, my deepest me is God, or Meister Eckhart's, to be full of things is to be empty of God, to be empty of things is to be full of God. All of these we often in our Western world look at as we set apart these individuals who achieve this experience and see them as somehow different or unique from the rest of us, rather than understanding it as a realization that we can all have when we engage in our own inner work. Cleaning up, then, Rohr says, is not so much about morality, but largely involves putting boundaries to our natural egocentricity, which he admits does have the potential to, over time, wake us up to the illusion of our separateness. So if we can just even work at that stage of recognizing we have an ego and putting boundaries on it, we begin to experience a sense of self expanding beyond the ego. In short, the goal of waking up is not personal or private perfection, but surrender, love, and union with God. Any preoccupation we have with our own private perfection of that we're meditating so many hours a day, or that we live our lives in this perfect peace, or whatever else we tell ourselves, if that's our focus, we're still functioning from ego. And cleaning up is largely about the need for early impulse control and creating necessary ego boundaries so we can actually show up in the real and much bigger world. What I've learned over my decades-long spiritual journey is that while we can never unlearn or lose our expanded perspective, we definitely can fall asleep. It happens to all of us. It's not like we forget what we've learned or we go back to believing in a devil or that life is happening to us, but we fall asleep to that understanding and that knowing. And we allow our egos to integrate our spiritual awareness into our ego identity. Do you get what that would mean? So rather than actually practicing our spirituality, we just define ourselves as spiritual. But that's an ego definition. And I remember at one point catching myself years ago when I was first into this saying, yeah, well, I know all about meditation. I know the impact it has on me. And so I felt like I was being spiritual when I wasn't actually meditating. You know, I had stopped, I'd gotten busy with life and things were going on, but my ego had just said, that's okay, because you know, but that's how we get caught up in that ego definition rather than remembering that we have to practice. I know I've shared with you many times when I've woken up to finding myself cynical or more concerned or anxious than I normally am and realized that I hadn't been practicing my spiritual disciplines. Rather, I've been caught up in the news and the world and the things going on. And while in the back of my mind, I was still thinking of myself as spiritual, I realized that my ego had been running me and not my higher self. As soon as I realize that, it's a chance to re-engage. And everything always dramatically shifts when we take the time to do that. I find it helpful to review this journey of transformation so that I can recognize when I'm paying attention and when I've just become on an ego track that includes spirituality. So I take time periodically to review. So where was I? And what's happened? And what are the things that shifted? And what experiences have I had that allowed me to take on life in new and different ways? The spiritual educator and guide Althea Luna offers these signs of spiritual transformation for us to consider as we gauge how we're doing in this journey. For example, when we're in the midst of transformation, we'll find old ways of being disintegrating. For example, thought patterns, habits, beliefs, and other limiting ways of being seem to just crumble. And as Rohr describes it, little by little, we allow politics, economics, classism, sexism, racism, homophobia, and all superiority games to lose their former rationale. Number 2, doorways open. New and unexpected opportunities for growth appear, and we recognize and engage them. That second part is key. If we're on a spiritual journey, we welcome opportunities to grow and learn, even when they show up in not bright and shiny packages. We even do things, I remember as I was considering, Karen and I were talking about her moving in with me, I immediately recognized it as I was weighing it, and I remember for years I was just going, yeah, 2 of us couldn't live together. I mean, I've got my ways and she's got her ways, and yeah. And so then as I started meditating on this idea, what I recognized is that her moving in with me would put me back in relationship, daily relationship, which I hadn't really been in for almost 11 years. And I'd gotten to think of my life as very peaceful and such, when in reality I had pretty much control over everything. And so there's nothing better than inviting a whole new personality into your life to challenge that inner peace and recognize, well, I had outer peace going on there, but not really inner peace, because now we're dealing with the daily things of, who empties the coffee pot and all of those dynamics. And I get multiple opportunities to say, okay, this isn't that big of a deal. I don't have to get upset about this. If she ate the last one of the biscuits I bought, that's okay. I can always buy another one. and we laugh, and it wasn't even an issue when I was constantly living with Rory and kids and everything. But once I'd lived alone for over a decade, these are all very new challenges. But I also recognize that's the perfect opportunity for me to grow, for me to begin to let go, for me to not hold so tight what my life looks like, because I know at this stage of my life, a lot of what I think my life should look like is going to go away anyway. So I embraced the process most of the time. The third is letting go, letting be, and surrendering to spirit becomes easier and almost more second nature. Rather than finding ourselves resisting what's going on, we more quickly get to that place of going, I'm going to turn it over to God. I'm going to let go. I can't control it anyway. Control is always an illusion. Number 4, our attachment to our identity and image becomes more transparent and thus less defining. I think we all know what that means. As we allow that ego image to fall away, we begin to be more authentic. And anytime we're more authentic, we're on this spiritual path. 5, profound insights or epiphanies into the nature of reality occur, especially as we engage a regular practice of prayer and meditation. Excuse my voice. It sounds weird to me, so I don't know what it sounds to you. Part of this is on the spiritual journey when we take more time to be quiet. And at least I experience when I stop ruminating and trying to fix things and figure things out, when I just get quiet, amazing answers come. And they were there all along. I was just too busy with my own mind thoughts and such to allow them to enter in. So when we're practicing our spiritual path, we get to experience more of those epiphanies or aha moments. 6, incidents of chemicalization. Now, that's not the word she used, but in her description, it triggered that for me. It's a word that we use in Unity that when we got to, went to ministerial school, individuals got sick, they'd get the flu, they'd get rashes, and people would go, it's chemicalization going on. With that being defined by Fillmore as what happens when a higher spiritual realization contacts an older state of consciousness. By stepping into ministerial school, we came with all of our identities and who we had been before we got there, and then that was all stripped away. And it was sort of like oh. When someone says, what do you do? And most of us were in our 40s and such, it's like we're back in school, and that isn't what the ego wants to profess. So if you take a new step and then find yourself with a cold or overtired or something, some of that is coming from the inner workings within you as you're letting go of an old way and moving into a new way of being. Number 7 is an increased sense of inner security and trust in life. There's more faith and less fear. Trusting that God is good all the time. That's a belief, a statement and a belief that comes up for me, that my understanding of it has changed over time. When I first accepted it, and it's the same thing when I was first in LifeSpring and my first awakening, recognizing that I had control over my life through my thoughts, like how I perceive something is going to be how I experience it. You get kind of a high because, you find parking places and you do all these cute little things, and then it stops working. Because then we go deeper into what this really means, is that even when things aren't going my way, God is good all the time. That there's a lesson, that there's an opportunity to grow, that there's an opportunity to learn compassion in every experience. And finally, deepening love and compassion for all beings increases. Our resentments fade as we expand our sense of connection and oneness. Now, the good news is we don't have to master unconditional love for it to deeply impact us and transform our old patterns. I still have a few, one comes to mind always, individuals out there in the world that are hard for me to embrace and love. But I love to go to Valerie Kaur's idea that we can go to wonder. If we can just shift from judgment and condemnation and anger and hatred to a space of wonder, then we've done the work of opening our heart and mind. And that will transform the patterns within us without us even doing further effort in that, putting that individual in the light and all of that sort of thing. I can just wonder, wow, how'd they get like that? How'd I get like this? It's a good process. I find that when my life gets too comfortable, it's probably an indication that I'm spending too much time on autopilot, and it's time to wake up again and re-engage the journey. Next week, we're going to continue this exploration by looking at how transformation shows up in the world, in terms of how we show up in the world when we're in this process. And I'm going to close this morning with the prayer I shared in my e-blast message from the book Love and Other Blessings by Glenn Cardy. Blessed are we with eyes to see. Blessed are we with eyes to see in our simple offering the hope that can meet our neighbor's needs and the need of our own hearts. Blessed are we with eyes to see in grace given and in kindness, in the caring and the courtesy, God sprouting again and again. Blessed are we with eyes to see there is no divide betwixt divinity and me, for swirls of grace hold, give, receive, all life in a movement of gift. Blessed are we with eyes to see, together, that movement are we. Namaste.
preparing for some time of quiet communing with the God of our understanding. So finding a comfortable position, bringing some relaxation into the body, allowing your hands to be resting gently, your jaw to unclench, letting your shoulders fall away from your neck, and deepening your breath so that you're breathing deep into your belly. As you breathe in, you can just say to yourself, less of me. And as you exhale, more of thee. Breathing in, less of me. Breathing out, more of thee. And just continue that gentle inhale and exhale. Less of me. Less of my ego. Less of my need to control. Less of my worry and anxiety. And more of thee. More of your peace. More of your expansiveness. More of your love. And just keep breathing in and exhaling out. Beginning to arrive in an awareness of the presence of God. That presence that is always here, just waiting for us to discover it. And I love what Vicky was saying, that God is always creating from the inside out. And that includes us. And that all things have programmed into them that instinct to grow, to learn, to expand. So as you continue resting gently, what is seeking to be expanded in you today? How is God seeking to grow through you? How are you being prompted to let go more of the ego self and spend more time in your higher self? Less time in worry and control, and more time in peace and letting go. And if you quickly sort of scan over the past 24 hours, you might be able to notice when were the times when you felt like you were more in that space of openness, of peace, that space of an awareness of God, an awareness of your higher self. And what times were you more contracted, more in your ego, filled with worry and doubt and the need to control? And without any kind of judgment, just allow yourself to be aware of those times so that we can begin to awaken and begin to notice when we're in our higher self and when we're contracted in our ego self. When we are in peace and expansion and growth, and when we are in fear and worry and doubt. And so just breathe into that without judgment. And vow that in the next day and week that you wish to spend more time in that expanded spiritual self, connected to God, connected to all that is. Less of me, more of thee. Less of me, more of thee. So I invite you now to just rest gently in that desire to be more expanded, more connected, at one with God, in the silence.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you.
And so gently preparing to bring this time to a close, knowing that we can return to this awareness of the presence of God and our oneness with all that is at any time. And so we allow our hearts to be filled with gratitude for this reminder, for this realization, and for this community that always calls us back again and again to the truth of who we are. And so we say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And so it is.
So it is. Unity of Monterey Bay is the collective consciousness and commitment of all of us who give of our time, treasure, and talent in order to sustain this spiritual community that is dedicated to transforming lives. Our September 9th daily word offers this wisdom. When worrisome thoughts trouble me, I respond by counting my blessings. Each blessing that comes to mind is a manifestation of prosperity. As I give thanks for each one, my prosperity consciousness grows. I begin to recognize abundance everywhere, in the beauty of nature, in acts of kindness, in words of praise. I give thanks for my talents and skills, for the opportunity to do meaningful work. I count my friends and family among my greatest blessings. I discover more ways I have prospered and find new channels of good. My heart fills with love and gratitude as I realize my prosperity. As the ushers, please now come forward. I invite you to think of something specific that you are grateful for in this now moment. And now, with our hearts and minds overflowing with gratitude, we breathe into the divine flow of God's good, trusting that we are enough, that we have enough, and that there always is enough to both have and to share. We give thanks for all the ways you give, in person, online, monthly bank auto payments, or using the QR code from the pews, or your credit card in the sacred grounds. We ask that everyone join in faith and gratitude as we pass the offering baskets this morning by holding and blessing the basket as it passes to you. And now, please join me in our offertory blessing. I am an open channel for God's infinite good. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies everything I give and everything I receive. I am both blessed and a blessing. Thank you, God.
This is who we are, and we feel the love whenever we're together. This is why we're here, to serve the world and one another. We're being called to find a higher way, and to remember why we're here today. Love, serve, and remember, love, serve. And remember, love, serve, and remember who we are. This is where we grow, and we find the truth that always sets us free. And this is where we play and enjoy like-minded company. A place where we can share our joy and pain. A place where everybody knows your name. We love, serve, and remember, love, serve, and remember, love, serve, and remember who we are. And in remembering to love and serve, we're transforming lives that transform the world. As we love, serve, and remember, love, serve, and remember, love, serve, and remember who we are. Love, serve, and remember, love, serve, and remember, love, serve, and remember who we are. And remember who we are. And remember who we are.
So it is with great joy that we bless and give thanks for these gifts and offerings that demonstrate our collective commitment to the spiritual work of love and transformation in our lives and in our world. We dedicate this offering, our lives, and this ministry to more fully expressing the Christ light that is the truth of our being, and inviting all people to know God's love. Finally, knowing that one with God all things are possible, we affirm together that the good is now, the rest is blessed, and the best is yet to be in our lifetime, gently. So for our awesome music today, we want to thank Richard McDeachy, Paul Beloche, Scott Kearns, David Roth, Peter Schulte, Edward Broughton, and of course our awesome music team. And today we have David and Devin, and Sue is back with us, and John, and of course Denise and Robin and Marianne and myself. So check the e-blast for happenings. There's no slide for this one, but summer dinners are still happening, and there's still one open for sign-ups in the sacred grounds. Wow, our banquet is coming up very quickly, hard to believe. If you haven't already done so, make sure you sign up in the sacred grounds, and you can pay for it also, and check or put what you want for your meal. What are the choices again? Seafood pasta. Steak and stuff. Oh, and a vegetarian lasagna. Okay, so something for everyone. And what is the theme? Autumn, just autumn? Autumn Fest. Okay. So wear whatever, right? Wear whatever you want. This time you don't have to dress up. This time you don't have to come in full costume. As fun as that is, you could come as a leaf, come in fall colors. Come as a pumpkin spice latte. Oh, goodness. All right. Yes, there is a new venue, so that's going to be cool. Actually, it's going to be quite different this year. Same, all of us and everything, but different food, different venue. Going to be a nice view. Yeah, it's going to be lovely. So make sure that you plan to come to that. It's a lot of fun. Our choir is going to be resuming practices beginning on Wednesday, September 25th. We're going to be practicing on Wednesdays now at 6?
5. Well, until it's 5. 5.
Wednesdays at 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you've kind of always thought it might be fun to sing with us, this would be a great time for you to join us.
It is fun.
Well, we know it's fun, but the people that haven't done it yet are thinking that it might be fun, so they need to come and find out whether it is fun or not. It is. And so all levels, you don't have to know what you're doing. Just come and join us, and it's, right? I mean, it's all levels, and we have a good time. I don't know what I'm doing either. Okay, so there's a lot going on coming up, and on the same weekend, actually, as the banquet, but on Sunday, we're going to have a guest speaker with a workshop following the service. So we'll be giving you more information about that, but it looks like it's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that myself. And then, of course, the women's retreat. You can sign up in the sacred grounds. In the e-blast. Yeah, so if you want to know more about what that workshop is going to be, that information is all in the e-blast. All right, are we good? Okay. As we bring our service to a close this morning, we're so grateful that you've joined us, whether you're here in person or you're watching us on Facebook Live, hi, or you're watching us later on YouTube. We're just happy that you found us and you spent this time with us, and we hope that you found us to be a loving and welcoming community, and we want you to know that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here with us, because we don't know what we're doing either, so it's just, it's all good. And if it's your first time with us, make sure you get a newcomer's packet. Our ushers will be happy to get you one of those. And our chaplain on duty today is Robin. She's available to pray with you after the service, so we give thanks for that. And all of our chaplains who are always praying and holding the high watch for our community. So we're ready to form our closing circle for our prayer for protection and our peace song. So as we form this circle, as we do each week of love and community and connection, just holding in this circle all those that are on our prayer list, all those in our own lives in need of prayer, those who are on our hearts this morning. Just holding them in our hearts as we see them surrounded by God's love, knowing their oneness with God, and seeing them lifted up and supported in whatever it is that they're going through. And we include ourselves in that, and our community and our country, and indeed our world, holding them all in our hearts as we join in our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.